What is up, wrestling fans? It's that time of the week for the FLZ Wrestling Team to talk all things pro wrestling and call it right down the middle. That's right, it's time for this week's edition of 607 TWS, The Wrestling Show, powered by FanlightZone.com. Of course, I am your host. My name is Rich. Joining me in the co-pilot's chair as she does each and every week, you know her as the hunter of the Pokemans because she's got to catch them all. She is the guru of cosplay, but most importantly for this show and this show's purposes alone, she is a pro grappling connoisseur. It is the first lady of Fanlight Zone, the one and only Miss Sammy. How are you this week?
I am here and I'm paying attention this week. How are you two?
Very good, very good. And of course, joining us again because once again, peek behind the curtain, we had another interview. There it is. He is the host of the Otoduro Parlay Hour podcast, better known as the ODPH, but most importantly to this show, he is the editor-in-chief and CEO of Fanlight Zone and fanlightzone.com. I give to you the one and only Ken M.
Logan Paul is still on the roster. It's going to be a good show, folks. Let's get talking some AEW, some WWE, anything pro wrestling. Get in the chat. Don't be lurking in the shadows. We want to talk to you about the best of what is going on because there's a lot of stories to get into. So you want to make sure that you're following Fanlight Zone on all the social media accounts. Make sure you're dropping those likes. Make sure you're giving the thumbs up. We want to know what you want to talk about, and we know there's a lot of pro wrestling fans here. The numbers don't lie. No gimmicks needed. We talk pro wrestling like nobody else, so you want to make sure you're jumping in, making your voice heard, and let's get on with the show.
He said no gimmicks needed. I thought Chris Candido was back. Damn.
Rest in peace.
Yeah, exactly. I was a little like, whoa, wait a minute. What happened? What did I miss? It's not a TNA storyline in the year 2026 where people just keep coming in and out of being unalived. With that being said, though, listen, I still enjoy that, damn it. Like, I will defend that to the death. Speaking of which, we have a loaded show this week. We have a lot to talk about. We have a lot on the headway, including we're going to be talking about and breaking down the just announced Owen Hart Classic 2026. The field has been listed. There's some notable names missing. There's some notable names there. We'll talk all about that later on. We'll also be kind of talking about the build to Double or Nothing, as well as talking about the build to WWE's Saturday night's main event, which is also coming up that same weekend. And last but certainly not least, we'll be talking about some NXT and those new call-ups, including, well, I mean, he made his debut a couple weeks ago, but the big signing of Mason Rook to NXT. We'll be talking about all of that and more on the show, but we're going to kick it off talking about a little show that went down this past weekend. That's right, Saturday to be exact, from the Benchmark International Arena in wonderful Tampa, Florida. It was WWE Backlash 2026, and of course, we're going to break that card down for each and every one of you. And if you're watching us live, make sure you jump in the chat. We do want to hear from you and what's your thoughts on all of this. So with that being said, without further ado, let's talk about the card. Let's start off with the opening contest of the evening. We had the badass Braun Breaker defeating Seth frickin' Rollins in 21 minutes and 26 seconds. Interesting match. I was not mad or upset about this match. However, I don't know what it is. Since Braun Breaker has been back, am I the only one that thinks that his spear is looking lazier and lazier? The one that finished the match was fine. But like he did one at one point in juncture where he literally took 2 steps.
Yeah, I think he's trying to overcomplicate things. Like instead of just letting the move come and be very organic, because we know it's one of his signature moves. It's kind of like the Steiner lines back in the day. Like they used to have like a little more importance, and then they were just very common in a Steiner Brothers match, which is perfectly fine. But for being in such a young age, I really think he's just kind of got to slow it down a bit, use it a little less to make it more impactful.
So, Sammy, before we even dive into the match, we're talking about the spear here for a minute. As somebody like yourself who has been critical about, up until recently, about Jacob Fatu using the splash or the moonsault as a finish, what is your thoughts on the spear as a finish, period?
The spear as a finish can be very effective. Obviously, it has historically been used by a lot of people, and Goldberg, being probably the biggest. Rhino with the Gore version of it. Edge does a spear. Roman Reigns does a spear. For a while, a lot of people were doing spears. It can be a very effective move, and Braun Breaker has done it in very effective means, literally hurling his entire body at someone. Obviously, that's not the safest thing to do consistently, but you have to find that middle ground where you can really make it feel very impactful and capture that energy that he has while still being able to consistently do it, make it look good, and make it safe.
I'm going to be public enemy number one on the spear, as I think that the Young Bucks, yes, I need the Young Bucks to do me another favor in life. Just like they stopped everybody from using the super kick as a finish because they started throwing super kick parties. Boys, it's time to start doing spear parties so we can get this off of here, because I'm just tired of seeing the spear. It is not, in my opinion, an effective move at all. It is literally like, hey, everybody does it. It's gotten to the level of super kick. I see it now. I just roll my eyes. Roman Reigns making fun of the Cody basically, the crossroads at WrestleMania. Remember, I should have known nobody. Like, yeah, but you do a spear, my guy. And everybody should kick out of it. If I was a pro wrestler, even if I would kick out of the spear just because I'm not eating a pin to the spear. Yep. Like, seriously, like it's getting to that point. I'm sorry. Maybe there's a lot of fans out there, but like literally there is too many people using the spear. Way too many. And there's 1.5 million moves you could use. 1.5 million. Like, I don't get it. At least with Braun Breaker, when he does the fast one off the both ropes, I get that a little more. Or like when Moose does it, he does that little tuck and roll, which is adding a little something to it. And I'm not saying I still want those guys doing it, because I feel like they could have a more impressive finish. What happened to impressive finishes?
Yeah. Like,
it's almost like we're back to the 1980s where the leg drop was an impressive finish. You know what I mean? Like and that's not how I want to be, because then you can watch other guys do these amazing moves. I mean, even like the stomp in its own is simplistic, but it's good and it's cool and it looks cool. I mean, I'm not afraid of the, I guess, it's you can make the same argument for the cutter, because everybody does the cutter now.
I've been
springboard.
Yeah, I was going to say at this point right now, Randy Orton needs to just do the RKO, and Javon Evans needs to do his crazy cutter off the top. Like everyone else, it's like, no.
Isn't it
right now.
Funny though? Isn't it kind of funny though in a lot of ways? And I'm not crapping on, because we all know I love Javon Evans. Isn't it funny though that Javon Evans does basically Cody Rhodes' setup move as his finish?
Yeah, it is a little wild.
Like, I mean, and that's a thing I think that people have to realize. Goldberg didn't use the spear as a finish. It was the setup to the jackhammer.
Yeah.
Right.
The only person that was really back then using it as a finish was Rhino with the gore. But even then, he used the pile driver.
Yeah.
It's true.
The gore was sometimes the finish and sometimes the pile driver. So, like, I'm just saying, maybe I'm being too nitpicky, but I just think there's too much of it. The match itself, what was your takeaways from the match itself, Ken, other than the finish?
It was solid. I mean, I think for Braun coming back from injury, I thought he played it a little safe, which is fine. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. But I think for what they wanted to do, they made the right call with the win. And it's kind of seeing where everything is going to lay out from here. Because, I mean, obviously the feud is continuing. I don't know how I feel about that, but it is what it is.
Sammy.
Yeah, I was fine with the match. But I am more interested just to see where this is going. Obviously, you have the other side of the vision that seems like they have a bit of a direction on where they're going. But the group overall is just kind of in a weird state. And bold prediction, I think that the vision is gone before the Judgment Day group at this point.
I don't even know if that's a bold statement. I think you're possibly that's something. Here's my problem. I think that they should, every once in a while in wrestling, I think you should just scrap things like out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Like if it's not working, just get rid of it.
Yeah.
Like I think that they like, like there's too much judgment in wrestling when you get rid of a bad idea. And I know we're going to age and go back a little bit to like 607 TWS of way past, back in the Twitch days, back in the old, outlaw days, right?
Mm-hmm.
And remember that little group that Brandy Rhodes had in AEW that we all hated, and then just one day it just disappeared and nobody talked about it again? And everybody was like, well, why would you do that? It doesn't make any sense. And you had me and Ken going, that was the greatest piece of booking of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because sometimes it just warrants just letting it go away. And I'm all right with Braun winning. I think that should have just, I don't think that we should have Seth now questioning his abilities and Seth doing this and then going back after the vision again and making it a point. I think you should just say, all right, he lost, move on.
Yep.
Yeah.
Let's move on. Let's move Braun Breaker towards the main event picture. Let's keep Seth Rollins in the main event picture that he's in. Let's just move on, because this could have been a good catapult spot for Braun Breaker to go up that next step on the ladder.
Sure.
And obviously Seth Rollins doesn't knock down a peg at all. But to now have him doing this, like, I don't know, I'm just turning 40. I don't know if I have it anymore. And you're looking at him like, what do you mean you don't know if you're still one of the top performers and you can go out there and have a 10-star match with anybody around the world? I mean, it's, especially if it was in the Tokyo Dome.
Yeah, and it's also not. It's been said multiple times that one wrestling channel doesn't watch the other, but AEW's been doing that with Kenny Omega, so now you're doing the same thing on WWE a couple weeks later.
So for those fans like us who watch all wrestling and don't need to be put into a neat little box of picking sides, we're like, we see this story done better on a different channel.
Mm-hmm.
And once again, at least with Kenny, there's a reason. Kenny had the illness. Kenny was out. There was a possibility he wasn't coming back to wrestling. Thankfully he did, right? But with Seth, there's been, he had an injury, but he's still Seth Rollins, and he's still putting on Seth Rollins matches.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Like I feel like it's almost like saying like CM Punk's a little older now and saying he doesn't have it, and we just witnessed that he had it. Like he main evented WrestleMania and it looked fine. You know what I mean? He's still firing at a high cylinder, and I get it. AJ Styles still had it. He got out while he still had it, which is great. I'm not judging him for that, but you can't say that, oh man, he couldn't still go at his age. So to be like, oh, I'm 40, I don't know if I have it.
Yeah.
When some of your top stars are older and they still have it, come on, man. Including him. I think it's weak booking. It's
it would be a good story for CM Punk. He is older. He just came off a big loss in the main event. That would make sense. But you're right. Seth Rollins doesn't make sense.
And to further that before we go on to the next match, to couple onto that, it would make even more sense because think about it. He lost the main event match because he ran out of gas.
Yeah.
Like that was the story they told. So now CM Punk could come out in front of an audience and literally be like, I don't know if I have it anymore. Like I was almost there. Roman, congratulated me and gave me my flowers for hanging with him. But at the end of the day, the reason I didn't win is because I didn't have the gas. It wasn't Roman Reigns that beat me. It was CM Punk that beat me.
Mm-hmm.
CM Punk's body gave out on him, not Roman beating him. And that's why that story would work there. Whereas Seth, just throwing it out there. Let's move on to the next match, though. This was the only match on the card that was a rematch from WrestleManias. And that, of course, was the WWE United States Championship match. Your champion, Trick Willie, whooped that Trick Williams with Little Yachty in the corner, taking on the gingerbread man, Sami Zayn. This match got 12 minutes and 56 seconds. At the end of the day, your winner and still WWE United States Champion, Trick Willie. Once again, right decision, decent match. Did we need to run it back? Don't know. Sammy, what say you about the WWE United States Championship match?
I mean, it was a solid match, but when you run back a match and you run it back that quickly, obviously you have to compare the two. And I would say this was just a step below that. And then there's nothing wrong with that. I would say the Little Yachty stuff was a step above. So that was kind of cool. He's someone that is, we've talked at length about celebrities in wrestling, but to be fair, to give credit to the celebrities, they're all fans and they have all significantly overperformed over celebrities in the past. So, at the end of the day, the match was solid. It was great, but running it back that quickly,
Ken,
it was a true backlash match because it's a reset, and I love the fact that they're just going to get away from this feud. Sammy is going to do his Bret Hart heel-esque turn now, and whatever that's going to be, it'll be great. Or they're going to put him with the bloodline because reasons. And then with Trick,
El Generico.
Yeah, okay. Don't give me hope.
There's no hope.
I know. I still have just AAA. Maybe just one day.
If the Undertaker knew that El Generico existed, that's a possibility. But that would mean that the Undertaker would have to realize that Sami Zayn and El Generico are the same person. Yeah, I know I said the quiet thing out loud, but I don't have faith that the Undertaker has watched independent pro wrestling ever.
I still say there's a chance, but I digress because at the end of the day, if you don't believe Trick Williams is going to be a world champion next year, I don't know what you're watching because he has the it factor. He has everything that we're looking for as a champion. And if you want any question, that post conference, every time he's out there, that crowd loses it after the match and how he handles it. I mean, I don't want to say the comparison of The Rock, but he just has that X factor that's really going to take him far in the business. And like I say, don't doubt next year he's world champ.
I'm going to piggyback off of that before I give my actual thoughts. it's easy to say crowd reaction wise, Trick Williams might be the second most popular wrestler in WWE today, only behind Obafemi.
That's a fair statement.
Because if you're listening to reaction, and this is not taking anything away from CM Punk or Roman Reigns or Cody Rhodes, that those crowds, they give a good pop for them. But that Oba pop, just John Cena, we'll talk about it later, just John Cena bringing up Obafemi got a huge reaction. Trick Williams, when he came out and they showed the meter, it was the red and it was peaking. Nobody else got that high. Not even Roman in the main event got that high. Think about that for a minute. So I think right now, if you're asking me, I think the two biggest stars, crowd pop wise, are Trick Williams and Obafemi. I think that there's evidence to prove that. With that being said, I think both of them have the same, and that's why my criticism here. I love Sami Zayn. I think Sami Zayn is one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, bar none in the ring. I love Trick Williams. I think he's one of the most most exciting young up and coming superstars who is going to be a megastar as long as they don't mess it up.
Very polished,
that could happen, but it's not going to be to his fault. As long as you strap the rocket ship to him, you're going to go straight to the moon, the sun, or wherever you want to go, quite frankly. The problem I have here is that we should have started moving on. Sami Zayn is a main event caliber player, and we've talked about this time and time again. There is a lack of real true main event heels. That's why they had to move Jacob Fatu to the heel side, even though he was still getting good crowd reaction, which has now created this weird 50-50, right? Because still Jacob is 50-50 over. Right? Even when everything with Roman. And you have a real heel that the crowd has organically made a heel in Sami Zayn. We could go back, and I don't need you to rehash it, but I'm just using this as an example. You could go back to conspiracy theory Sami Zayn to an extent and just be like, hey, I'm getting screwed over. But instead of whining about it, I'm just going to take what's mine. You people wanted me to take this and this and that, and I got cheated, and you're not going to have my back. That's okay. I'm going to start doing to your favorites what was done to me. And that would be a great way of like getting him into the main event picture. And on the other end, Trick Williams moving on, making the United States title what it's supposed to be, the workhorse's belt, just like the Intercontinental title is supposed to be, and taking on some of this other young talent. There's a lot of hot young talent in WWE right now. We can all agree on that.
Agree.
Why not make that happen? You know what I mean? And you could have moved on right from the jump at Backlash and set them both on the trajectory to where they need to go next. And instead, we took a month off. And that's my feelings. Although the match was fine, it's just once again to Sammy's point, the match at WrestleMania was slightly better. Since it was so close, it's just like okay, it's fine, it's there. All right, let's move on to the tag team extravaganza, and I mean that in all the best ways, as Danhausen and his mystery partner, the clone, Minihausen, would defeat The Miz and Kit Wilson. This match got 11 minutes and 38 seconds, and I'm just going to be honest with you. I love a good comedy bit.
Yep.
And that's what Danhausen brings to the party. That's what Kit Wilson brings to the party. The Miz can work both styles. We know he can be serious. He can be, and in this case, he was very much. And I enjoyed this for the hilarity of it. It wasn't, a standard great wrestling match. You're never going to see it on the best of the year. But as far as fun and entertaining on a show, this was fantastic. And I thought that Minihausen was super impressive. Why not grab a luchador when you can? Ken M, your thoughts about the Danhausen and Minihausen defeating The Miz and Kit Wilson?
Match of the year candidate. I mean, let's face it. This was fun. And if anybody has not realized this is what Danhausen's character is doing, I'm sorry, you're not getting pro wrestling. There is a place for him on this roster. This is why WWE has pushed him so hard. And the proof is in the sales. The merch is flying, and he is getting over organically. That I'm not saying he's making the crossover to pop culture, but you see about the impact he's doing involving your Eastern Conference Finals, New York Knicks.
Yes. Danhausen, you better not put the curse back on the Knicks.
No, you better not. We'll get your front row. Trust me. We'll find a way. Allegedly. So that being said, you're seeing him just grow as a star. And to be in the ring with The Miz and Kid Wilson, listen, we got to give him his flowers too. Doing this whole new gimmick that he's doing, it's working. And they put on an entertaining match. This got the largest reaction of the crowd of the night. So this was nothing but a big bucket of win.
Sammy.
I think it's important to remember because obviously this match did receive a lot of criticism, which I 100% did not agree with. I thought this match was complete cheesy fun, which is something that's been missing a lot in WWE over the past few years. You've gotten some of it. There's some really good, you know, comedy characters in there, but you haven't had someone like a Danhausen in a while, someone who is really just leaning into that side of wrestling, which is a huge part of wrestling. It's a huge part of wrestling history, and WWE, especially at the main event level, has had this very serious track, which can be fun, and it's told some really great storytelling. But when you're WWE and you are that PG, sometimes PG-13 product, you can't really go far enough. So AEW is there to do the overly serious stuff, the overly violent stuff. WWE doesn't do that. It's not going to go that way. So you have to find that kind of middle ground, because sometimes when they do those very serious stories, they kind of come across a little because they're not going to go to that level where an AEW will. So I love Danhausen. I thought this match was exactly what WWE needed. Are you going to run this back all the time? Every pay-per-view do a Danhausen match? No, you would overexpose it. But Danhausen moves merch. Who would have thought that Danhausen would be the one all over ESPN out of all of the athletes? Because again, WWE is full of athletes. They picked Danhausen to be the one. Danhausen very well could be the next one to bleed into pop culture and do some sort of a TV spinoff or something like that, Tales from the Crypt with Danhausen or something. I can totally see that. He's getting the biggest social media buzz. He's the biggest merch mover. And they did one thing here that I love. Danhausen he's been in the ring. He's done some stuff. Danhausen can wrestle. I think that's the key thing that WWE fans don't know yet. He can wrestle. He's a very talented wrestler. Is he going to be able to keep up with like a Kenny Omega or a give me someone else, a Will Ospreay or something like that? Maybe not, but I would say he could be just as good as like an Orange Cassidy, who's had some amazing matches, who's also a comedy character. Danhausen can go. We haven't seen that yet, so wait for that story. That's going to be really cool.
So my problems with like people that are judging this match for them, some people it's just because some of the pundits are just because they make it's better to be negative, and then you get to be. There's more.
They got famous in this era of just like WWE being that really athletic sports serious competition. They don't remember the older stuff where it was goofy.
Well, but they kind of do and they don't. And then the other part of it is the people who are just like, you watch one channel or the other. So this channel good, this channel bad. And it's like you touched it on to a minute ago. Orange Cassidy is a comedy wrestler.
Yep.
I'm not saying he can't wrestle, but he's a very successful comedy wrestler. So isn't, and to an extent, Tony Storm. The Tony Storm gimmick is very, much a comedy gimmick.
Chelsea Green.
Chelsea
Joe
Green.
Hendry.
But here's the thing. Yeah, Joe Hendry. You could go on and on. Santino Marella was famous for doing, but it's gone all the way back. There's always been a place in wrestling for comedic wrestlers because it's an entertainment show. Mm-hmm. And when you have Danhausen out here doing what she's doing, you're making people happy. They're making people laugh. And I mean this in not an insulting way. It's like going to the circus and seeing the clowns.
Yep.
He is that moment of levity, and if you put that match in the right part of the card and you put that segment in the right part of the card and you where you have that, it breaks up and really can help the serious stuff before and after. Mm-hmm. And that's the important part. And we saw it time and time again with Santino Marella in the past. We've seen it time and time again with Joe Hendry throughout his career, whether it be in TNA or in WWE. And we've seen it with Orange Cassidy and Tony Storm, et cetera, et cetera. Mm-hmm. Once again, that doesn't mean they can't wrestle. That means they're not good athletes. It just means if you can find a gimmick that gets you over, I've always said it, that's what you work.
Exactly.
And the proof is in the pudding, because as you both pointed out, he's all over ESPN. That's not WWE sending him. That's them going, hey, we want this guy. Mm-hmm. We saw the business that he did with Stephen A. Smith. We saw the business that he did with the New York Knicks stuff. Oh, man. So he can tie into sports, and he's fun. Let's bring him in. Our audience, who is not into wrestling necessarily, is going to laugh and like this. And it's not because you're laughing at him. You're actually laughing with him because he's doing this on purpose.
Yeah.
And I think that's the key takeaway here. Let's go to a more serious match. The only women's match on the card, unfortunately, but a damn good one, as we point out, is Io Sky would defeat Asuka in 18 minutes and 7 seconds. Talk about giving it some time, which is awesome. And let's talk about the elephant in the room before we talk about the match. It looks like all these decisions are happening because reports are out there We don't know what they are, but there's something personal going on with Asuka, which she's going to be taking time off. We wish her well. Hopefully it's nothing, too bad. We don't know what it is, but obviously you saw this nice match at the end of the match. Her and Io embraced. There was a very emotional moment. We got to see an emotional moment on Monday Night Raw as well, with the two of them. And they kind of touched upon the fact that Asuka would not be around for a while. Okay. So whatever is going on, like I said, we all are very hopeful that everything is fine and everything turns out well for Asuka. But the match itself, Ken M, your thoughts?
Probably the best wrestling match of the night, easily. Great story behind it. This was everything I was expecting. No Kairi Sane, even though there were loud "We Want Kairi" chants during this match. But at the end of the day, it did the right move by moving Io away from Asuka into, I'm presuming she's got to be going for the world title at this stage. So is the right call, perfect send off, and wishing Asuka the best.
Sammy.
Yeah, this was a really strong match. It was highly entertaining. Obviously, they're two pros. They know each other very well, and they know their way around telling a good story in the ring. And with Asuka going forward, obviously we don't know enough about what the situation's like. But one thing, touching on what we said earlier about when things aren't really working, just end it. And in this case, at the end of the day, this story is over, which is honestly for the best. We have a clear, definitive ending of these two with this feud that was going on. The Kairi stuff, as well, that was, an unfortunate situation. But this is all done. When Asuka, hopefully when she's back, you just start fresh and you just start over. And I think that's also nice as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with both of you. And the thoughts are with Asuka, and hopefully everything's going well there. Before we go to the main event, we had the GOAT, the greatest of all time, the Never Seen 17, John Cena. We were wondering what John Cena was going to do. He had a major announcement, and I think he shocked the wrestling world because I think none of us could have guessed in a million years what his announcement would be. So John Cena would come to the ring. I like him in this ambassador role. I want to say that first and foremost. It is kind of nice seeing him go out there. He's enjoying being in the crowd. Obviously he doesn't have to do, he made the joke about, it's more fun for me because I don't have to worry about somebody coming out and interrupting me.
Yeah.
There's a give and take there, and it's kind of cool. But John Cena said, hey, listen, I've been trying to think of a way to give back to the wrestling business. Obviously I can't be here all the time. Obviously I can't be doing this all the time. So one of the things since I've retired since December that I've really taken on my plate, and I do believe this is actually all real. I think this is all John Cena. One of the things that I put on my plate is figuring out how I can continue to give back to the wrestling business. And I think I found out a way, because the last night of my career, it was important to me not only to have somebody earn the right to face me, but also I wanted everybody on the card to fight somebody from NXT versus an established star, the whole card. And we did that, and it was well. Of course, the crowd did chant one more match for John Cena, which you're going to get. John played it off very well. I liked it. And then we got the announcement. The announcement is that after thinking about that, and after thinking about how much that final show meant to him, that it was designed around earning a spot and also showing the young talent against the established stars, he announced that we are going to now get the John Cena Classic. And he's hoping it's not going to be a one-year thing. He said he hopes it goes on forever. He's going, basically, we're going to get, it's going to be NXT talent, picked NXT talent versus main roster talent. And you're going to go out there and you're going to wrestle. There'll be wrestling and matches. And you don't have to win or lose. There's going to be a title, I guess. There's going to be some kind of John Cena Classic. I don't know if it's a title or trophy. He did say championship. And basically he said, you don't have to win. Here's the thing. The cool part about it is you're going to go out there and perform. And then after you're done, the audience is going to vote on who they thought was the best, who they want to see more, who they, but so you could lose your match and still be the winner of this thing, because it is literally, and I thought to myself that, the old school head that I am sometimes like, oh, this is kind of a wild idea. And I don't know how I feel, but after it sank in, I went, this is kind of a cool modern age take. The wrestling fans know that wrestling is work. He can't help but it. We have Unreal. We had Tough Enough in the past. We've had all these backstage things. We've had shoot interviews. We know that wrestling is a work, right? So leaning into that and going, hey, what we want to do is it's not a tournament. We want to do a night of great pro wrestling where the future meets the present. And at the end of the day, we want you, the wrestling fan, the people who are supposed to be impressed, to vote on who you thought was the best in both the men's and the women's. We want you to vote on who you thought was the next big deal. So your voice is going to be heard. And I went, that's kind of ingenious. And the fact that you don't have to win or lose, because think about it, winning and losing is not part of the performance.
Mm-hmm.
You can be the all-star in a losing effort. We've said it time and time again.
Yeah.
You can be. So I feel like in the world where we know pro wrestling is a work and where we know all these things, I think this is kind of, wait a minute, too good for WWE. Hence why I know that John Cena came up with this idea. And he had to sell a room on it. And it probably was hard to sell the room on it. But then again, he's John Cena. So he's like, well, if you want me to keep making appearances.
Yeah.
And they went, he's John Cena. And I think that's how we're getting this, because there's no way you can tell me that WWE Creative came up with this. They're too bankrupt. They're too creatively bankrupt to come up with this. Sammy, what was your thoughts on the John Cena Classic announcement?
The announcement overall was interesting, because obviously it took us all a bit of surprise. We had some different thoughts on where this was going to go, and this having a tournament was kind of really completely out in left field. However, if you go back and you listen to what John said, and you really think about that Saturday night's main event, it was a huge success. And he touched on it, and the crowd touched on it. It's very true. It was a huge success. And it gives WWE an opportunity, and specifically the roster, NXT and WWE, to just focus on going out there and just having really strong just wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to worry about ongoing storylines or whatever. You just go out there and you have to put on a great wrestling match. You have to do great storytelling in the ring. You have to maximize your ability to be the excellent in executing your stuff. You need to incredibly sell. This is going to be there's going to be a ton of selling, because you are going out there, and every match is basically Bret Hart Stone Cold in the submission match, where you have to go out there and put on a banger match, and in a loss, you can still overall win. So it's going to be interesting how it all plays out, if we're going to see these kind of matches play out, over the course of a Raw and a SmackDown and NXT, and then build up to some sort of a blow-off, special, pay-per-view, or maybe a Saturday night's main event type thing or something. But at the end of the day, I think it's really a big win for people who enjoy wrestling, because that's all this is really going to be, is just great wrestling.
Firstly, we would like to say we do not want any smoke from the Alan Moore of professional wrestling, Bret the Hitman Hart. Sammy did not mean to say excellence of execution or even anything close to it. We understand. We don't want that smoke, okay? I just want that out there. But no, on a serious note, touching on what you said before I pass it to Ken, huge success is, by all stretches of the imagination, it was a huge success on television. It drew a huge rating. The John Cena's last match, the whole show. It drew a great house, money-wise. We know that, right? And then on top of that, though, the biggest thing for us as fans is we've been watching them in NXT already, but it was the coming out party for Sol Ruka, Javon Evans, and Oma Femi. You had three people who are now on the main roster, two of them in giant spots, right? That made their mark on that show. That was the show where people started going, Oba versus Brock could be a thing, taking us into the Rumble where we get to that, right? That was the show where Javon Evans impressed so much that people went, ooh, we want to see this Javon kid more, right? And then Sol Ruka, of course, also in an impressive performance. So I think, yes, it was a gigantic success, and it's also a good way to check the temp of the room, because all three of those people are now on the main roster in big roles because that show. What's your thought, show?
Taboo Tuesday means ruthless aggression. I mean, it's a great idea on paper, and I am optimistic. However, I am curious to see how this is going to play out, because where I think, and this is my unofficial guess, we're going to see this go in the month of June for a couple weeks, because I don't think you're going to have all in one night tourneys, or however they want to decide this. I think they're going to stretch this out over 2 weeks over television, which is perfectly fine, because in the summer months, we all know this when most shows go on a hiatus and they come back in the fall. I think this would be a real fresh take to do and have it stretch out on Monday, Tuesday, and Fridays. and then lead up to a Saturday night's main event where that's where you crown the finals.
Mm-hmm.
So on paper, I really love this, and I hope they do well with this because, like you touched upon, this is where Sol Ruka got on the map. This is where Javon Evans really stole the show, and this is where Obafemi got a lot of people talking about him going into WrestleMania. So that said, the bar is set very high. I'm hoping they pull this off right, but wait and see.
Absolutely. We got one more match to talk about, and that was the main event of the evening for the World Heavyweight Championship. And of course, that would be between the WWE World Heavyweight Champion, the big dog, the tribal chief, Roman Reigns, and of course, the Samoan werewolf, Jacob Fatu. This match got 17 minutes and 50 seconds. And at the end of the day, your winner and still the WWE World Heavyweight Champion, Roman Reigns. But he did not look like a winner after the match, as Jacob Fatu literally choked the life out of that man. Choked the life out of him. Match itself, I thought was fantastic. There were some spots I would have done a little differently, but overall, I did not like the finish. I thought the finish was flat, and that we'll talk about like more of the post stuff after we talk about the match. But I feel like the finish was so flat, and then Jacob Fatu was back on his feet before Roman. A lot to unpack there. Sammy, we'll start with you on this. What do you got?
Yeah, the match was solid. It really was. It was solid to good, but you're right that the finish was a little interesting, and then the post match shenanigans was also kind of interesting. Clearly, this feud is going to continue. They really want to push Jacob as a heel in this specific feud. I think you can make that work long term. Jacob is just so over with the crowd. They're going to start cheering for him. They're going to continue to cheer for him now, as they should. He's a phenomenally talented person. But yeah, I didn't love this. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. I didn't really love it.
Got him.
What a messy finish. Seriously, what a mess. You had a chance to shake things up, even for a month. Have Jacob pull off the upset. Have him go Rocky 3. But no, we wind up having Roman doing shenanigans to win because the almighty tribal chief had to rip off the turnbuckle and use it to get the advantage over Jacob Fatu. And then that was pretty much washed after the pin. Like, okay, never happened. Roman is a good guy. And I mean, I guess you could say he's a anti-hero, whatever you want to define it as. But either way, it made a mess out of what was building up to be a solid match. And then Jacob Fatu going crazy at the end, completely justified. Because, he got screwed out of that title.
So I like the going crazy at the end.
Oh,
the part that I didn't like was, like you said, so he eats like the exposed steel turnbuckle, hits the spear. That's the match. And then Jacob Fatu's up.
Yeah.
Like, how did you get pinned to 3 and not kick out if you're up that quick? I mean, up and not like selling, but up and like ready to then choke the life out of Roman with the Tongan death grip and throw away like 15 referees and a million, you know what I mean? Like, and there's got to be some logic to the party. I like the beatdown, but there has to be some logic to the party.
Right.
Yeah. And then carrying it on and Roman basically saying he's going to fire him.
Yeah,
like that. What a bitch move that was. Like, you took your champion, the biggest draw in wrestling today, not hyperbolic at all, truth,
facts,
and you just made him look like a bitch because he walks up the ramp and is basically like, I'm going to have him fired. To then go to Raw and be like, nope, you can't fire him because he has to acknowledge me.
Yeah, I'm sorry, we can't go back to the storyline after that. No, I agree. Like, you can't have Roman looking that bad. And then all of a sudden, no, you can't fire him because he has to acknowledge. I'm sorry, the acknowledgement is out the window. Jacob getting escorted out of the building by that many security guards.
Not just that, but like, if you're a man, and Roman Reigns, that's what we claim Roman Reigns is. When that man gets in the ring after he did what he did to you, you're not going to smash his face in or try to.
Exactly. This is pro wrestling. People get fights in the backstage for spilling coffee.
You just want him
Let's
to go.
Not forget about this.
You just want him to do this, like,
yeah. Like, I'm sorry. And what happens if he did that? Storyline's over. Like, come on. This was a bad booking decision by the powers that be, who are responsible for this, because we're not even sure who's running creative right now.
Well, we know where the buck stops, but
Right,
we don't know who's coming up with this.
Exactly. Who exactly is.
And there could be somebody from TKO. You never know.
Right.
But it makes it even more reasonable for the creative accuracy. Overall, though, Backlash, a really good episode of Monday Night Raw.
Yeah, I'd say.
Sammy?
It was a very expensive episode of Monday Night Raw, considering that we got 5 matches, but 2 of them were on ESPN again, which means you paid $30, $10 a match for Backlash.
Not to mention, it was faster than any pay-per-view because they had to go off air before the UFC main card started at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, because TKO needs to get your money across the board. Although at least in that case, you get to watch that on Paramount Plus for free. As long, well, I'm going to say for free, but as long as you have Paramount Plus, right? Which is cheaper than ESPN. You pay less for Paramount Plus than you do for ESPN. Isn't that crazy?
You know, that real value of AEW being, you know, their pay-per-views are more expensive, but Tony Khan does jam-pack a lot of stuff. You know, you're getting 12 matches for your $40 to $50 versus you getting 3 matches for $30.
Once again, calling it down the middle. I think there's a happy medium between the two.
Yeah,
agreed.
I think there's a happy medium between the two. I don't think I need 12 or 13 matches on the card. I also think I need more than 5 for a pay-per-view. I feel like the sweet spot should be right around 8.
7 to 8 would be perfect,
right? For across the board.
Yes.
Because then you get more quality and more in quality over quantity. And I'm not saying that AEW has been firing on all cylinders. So, like, to be fair, the last few pay-per-views, out of like the 12 match cards, like 11 or 12 of them were worthwhile. Like literally the whole pay-per-view. I mean, I'm only saying I can't remember if we took away for some matches. That's all the reason I'm saying that. That's why. But I know that on them we haven't had more than one bad match a show.
Right.
And I wouldn't say bad, just less than. Right.
Right.
And so giving them credit, they are nailing it. But unfortunately, it's still a long time. Right. And that's my problem. And then we're going into another weird scenario of Saturday's main event coming up this upcoming, a week from Saturday, I should say. So Memorial Day weekend, it'll be the night before Double or Nothing. We're not going to break down the card. The only reason I'm bringing this up is because once again, we talked about going into Backlash, like, oh, this pay-per-view looks different. It doesn't look like a normal what WWE's been doing where there's just champions and top-tiered stars. And they're doing the same thing on Saturday's main event so far, because we got the Vision defending the World Tag Team Championships against the Street Profits, and we have Penta defending the Intercontinental Champion against Ethan Page. Those are the 2 announced matches so far. Like, no big star. And nothing against it, because I love Penta and I love Ethan Page. I love the Street Profits. And I love Logan Paul.
Who doesn't love Logan Paul?
Exactly.
Paul, can we admire Logan Paul?
Yeah.
Admire.
See, I think, by the way, I think that we finally broken Ken. Ken used to love Joe Hendry. But now that Joe Hendry is against Logan Paul, I feel like he's got to choose. You're kind of like you're King Solomon right now, choosing between which mother gets the baby.
No, see, what's going to happen is Joe Hendry is going to join the Vision.
No.
Yes, it's going to happen. Braun's going to break away. Joe will be there to get everybody on the same page. It'll be a big sing along. It'll be amazing.
I believe in Joe Hendry. I knew that would work. All right, so let's move on. There's no graphic for this because I always keep 100 with everybody. I screwed up and didn't write the right thing underneath the graphic. So because I was in a hurry. Okay. We have a lot of work going on here at Fanlight Zone. I'm sorry. But this is just kind of talking about NXT real quick. I want to touch on it. We already had seen Mr. Cruz come over, but now it's official. Mason Rook has signed with NXT. They did that this past week. And the reason I bring this up is because we all agreed it was a big signing, a tremendous athlete, a different looking athlete. Of course, Evil is also in the company now. NXT, for quote unquote losing, I shouldn't say losing because NXT don't really lose people. People just graduate, if you will, has now reloaded in the quickest time ever. With some big stars to fill in the gaps. But the Warriors and I bring this up is because there was some talk on the internet. Now, when Mr. Cruz was a free agent, he was the hottest free agent. Everybody was all like he should go to AEW, where the best wrestle. But as soon as he signed with WWE, all of a sudden he became a slob. He's fat. He's sloppy. He's out of shape. And I say this as another large man, and it doesn't offend me, and I'm sure it doesn't offend him as well. But here's the problem. this is my issue with wrestling fans, and it has been for years. You can like what you like without cutting other people down. You know what I mean? And it's kind of rude to talk about somebody like that. Remember a long time ago when people got so mad that Gunther got in shape?
Mm-hmm.
But now those same people who are those people that mad that Gunther, Walter, they forced him to get in shape, which we found out it's not true. He wanted to do it for himself, right? But here's the problem. Those same people are the ones calling this man fat and sloppy and not that good, when before he signed, oh man, he should be the next big star. Listen, I always want to go back to this. It doesn't matter. And it happens the other way around too. Put your bias aside. Like what you like, watch what you watch, love what you love. You don't have to tear them down, because once upon a time, as Stephanie Vakir came over to WWE and people bitched about that, and Tekla went over to AEW and people were like, well, that's less than. Guess what? It ain't less than either one. Both of them are pretty damn big stars. So I think both companies won. And for those of us who don't nitpick, we really won, because we got two great stars and two different companies that make me want to watch television. What are your guys' takeaways from all this nonsense going on the internet? Ken?
He's big. He's bad. He'll body slam your dad. Who's going to say anything to him? Just saying. It's the same old internet nonsense that, okay, if you want to declare a side in the AEW WWE debate, sure, whatever. But who cares what they're doing if you're happy with what your brand is doing?
Mm-hmm.
And it's such, the same old nonsense that I just can't even get into it. Like, you're not going to watch, you're going to sit there and complain. Thank you. You're going to let them live rent free in your head and ruin your wrestling experience. Do you? Me, I'm going to be excited what's going to be going on Tuesday night, because NXT is reloaded, and for such a quick amount of time. That just shows what the WWE developmental system is working, from Evolve to NXT, and even with the partnership with AAA and the loose affiliation with TNA now too. Like, they have so much big bucket of win that as a wrestling fan, that's what we should be talking about. And just because your company missed out on signing a great talent, well, you still have a great roster to watch on Wednesday and whenever Collision is airing, because I know it's kind of hopping around right now because of the NBA and other sports going on. So either way, like, it is what it is, but man, it's such an old argument. Like, get some new material.
Sammy, your thoughts?
When you start, sometimes it could be fun. I'll admit, sometimes it could be fun to read through, comments on social media for some sort of a post on something maybe you like or you dislike. Sometimes reading the comments can be more entertaining than the actual content that was posted to begin with. But at the end of the day, you start really reading these and you're reading through them. Pay attention to the names. If you look at the names of these accounts, typically there are a lot of numbers and symbols and stuff, and then you come to realize, I'm like, you're not even arguing with a person. You're arguing with a bot. You're arguing with someone whose name is a barcode. Like, just forget it. Like, it's not even worth it. Too many people are keyboard warriors. They've grown up. We've grown up in a generation of keyboard warriors. Go to a show, say it to his face, and then see what happens.
I mean, we do comics here on Fanlight Zone. And one of the most impressive things, people were not too happy with a comic book writer named Dennis Camp. Dennis Camp gave out his schedule and said, "Come see me." That's the realest dude that he won Real Ass Dude of the Week for that one.
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to throw out that. But yeah, I just think that, listen, I love pro wrestling. I love watching both companies. I think it's a big win for every company when they do well. I just can't understand why one side or the other. The other argument that got brought up this week, I heard, was like, people like, I'm tired of WWE having somebody pin a champion in a match to get a title shot. And you're just like, but that's wrestling history. That happens all over the place.
That's the whole eliminator clause.
Yeah, I was going to say, AEW does it, and they call it an eliminator match. And that's how Brody King got a shot in Australia. And I'm fine with it. And it's not picking on it to be, but that's been done forever. Mm-hmm. Like, when you beat the champion, whether it's in a singles match or a tag match or a multi-man match, whatever it is, that just it's a way to get you to that title shot. You know what I mean? They do it in Japan, they do it in Mexico, they do it in AEW, they do it in TNA, they've done it throughout time. They did it in WCW, they did it in Crockett Promotions, they did it in the AWA, they did it in the WWF. Yeah. That's right. I didn't stutter. That was what WWF was before it was WWF, and then before it was after WWE. So this is something that's gone on forever. It's wrestling. It's not that serious. And the immortal words of our friend Max B, it ain't that serious. Come on, guys. Let's have fun. Speaking of fun, let's end the show on a bang. Before you put the graphics up, because I want to put them up while we talk about it, we got the announcement. We knew it was coming this past Wednesday on Dynamite. The 2026 Owen Hart Classic, both men's and women, were announced. The fields were announced. Of course, they will be starting this upcoming week and running through until the finals at Forbidden Door in San Jose, California on Sunday, June 28th. So we got a little bit of a run. We're going to start with the women's bracket. So there it is. So you can see it. I'm going to go over it while it kind of leaves it on the screen. On one side, we have Persephone taking on Hazuki. Also on that same side, and this will happen at in Queens at Double or Nothing. The TBS champion Willow Nightingale taking on the New Japan Strong Women's Champion Alex Windsor. Which is a tremendous match, by the way. Then on the other side, we got Mina Sirakawa taking on Athena, the Forever Champion, Ring of Honor, and then Sky Blue taking on Suri. All right. Before we talk about any of these matches, which I'm excited for some of these matches, obviously. Willow Nightingale, by the way, has been in every Owen Hart Classic. He's made it to the finals of a couple even.
Yep.
But before we get there, there's an elephant in the ring. The defending and reigning Owen Hart Classic women's winner, Mercedes Moné, is not on the list. We don't know contract situations. We've talked about this before. She's lost all of her belts. What is going on? Is this a case of like Tony Khan looking in the future and going, oh, well, she's just going to go back to the E, so we're not going to book her? Or what? And which is a dumb move because she's a name. Milk it for all it's worth. Or what's going on? What does it take? What's the temp in the room? Because not being in the tournament that she won last year.
The only thing I will say is, I mean, obviously, I don't know the situation, but if I have to speculate and make a guess, two things. One, she could be out in Hollywood doing some new projects that we don't know about. I mean, depending if there's anything she's involved in Star Wars. That could be something that keeps her away from TV, and then she makes the dramatic return at Forbidden Door to challenge the winner, and then it could set up something for All In, which that'd be perfectly fine.
Okay.
The other one is she's gone, and Tony is just quietly not booking her and just having her go away until her contract runs out, and then she'll go to WWE, and it goes from there. Which, if I have to guess, I'm going to say it's the latter. I really do. I think at this stage, that is my pick.
Sammy, any thoughts on that one?
Is AEW really missing her? And don't get me wrong, I agree. She's an incredibly talented person. She's a name in the business. She's got a resume a mile long. Is AEW really missing her? Are people screaming for Mercedes Moné? I think more people would be screaming for Toni Storm, who is out with an injury. She's not out just being, hating out and catering. She's out with an injury. But I mean, is AEW really missing her?
The answer to that is no, but also she is money. So as AEW might not be missing her, but that is a big draw. And you're going into trying to fill a massive stadium again. And that's the kind of draw power you need. And I'm not saying that there's not other draws on that card. Obviously there are. You know what I mean? Obviously, especially on the men's side, you got Will Ospreay's going to be a big draw when you're talking about filling up Wembley. However, that is still like if I'm a booker, if I'm the promoter, and I got this big show at Wembley, and I got a star the caliber of a Mercedes Moné, who is a draw, you bet your sweet ass I'm putting her on a card to get her in there. Because I need to make ticket sales. And yes, you're right, Sammy. There, as far as like talent wise or like TV wise or in ring wise, are they missing her? No. I mean, granted, she adds to your show no matter what. I'm not, this is not a slight against, don't come for me, Mercedes Moné fans, because I believe she adds to the show, period. But if you're asking me if they're missing her, that no, because they have other people who have stepped up and are doing great things. However, if I'm booking a gigantic show where I could use all the name power I can get, yeah, you bet your sweet ass I want Mercedes Moné on that show. Just throwing it out there. Not saying that the other women can't get it done, because let's say in the ring, it's going to be great regardless.
Oh, absolutely. It's going to be a fantastic
I'm not worried about that, right? And like you said, we have some great talent from across the board represented in the tournament. And like, there's some people are going to be like, who's that person? Who's that person? Well, you're going to find out pretty soon.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you don't know who Persephone is, you should find that out, because she's tremendous. Same with Hazuki. That's going to be an amazing first round match to get people introduced to both. Of course, Mina Sarakawa and Athena is going to be an amazing match. Sky Blue and Suri is going to be an amazing match. But the biggest match, I think, in the first round has got to be Willow Nightingale and Alex Windsor. And that's why it's on the pay-per-view.
Yeah.
So I think well, I'll go first, but if I'm looking at when I'm looking at this, I think the finals, in my opinion, as of how it stands right now, Willow Nightingale and Athena.
Agreed.
And then from there, we'll wait until closer to Forbidden Door. I would go if I was choosing, I'd kick Willow Nightingale. Nothing over Athena, just Willow Nightingale is that star.
I agree, but I'm going to say I'm taking Athena. If you're ever going to have her break away from Ring of Honor to be the franchise of the women's division of AEW, now is the time. And it's nothing against Willow. Willow's been fantastic, but that's a feud you can really build off and go some places with. But I think for Athena being the forever champion of Ring of Honor, eventually that's got to run its course, and you have to bring her to AEW and on Dynamite and have her just steal the show there. I
agree. All right, let's talk about the men's side. The men's side, oh boy, we're talking about like loaded. Let's talk about it. We on one side taking place at Double or Nothing, because why the hell wouldn't this match take place at Double or Nothing? The Samoan submission machine, Samoa Joe, taking on the Billy Goat, the aerial assassin, the newest member of the Death Riders, Will Ospreay. Then we have your new AEW National Champion, Mark Davis, taking on the former AEW National Champion, Jungle Jack Perry, in the first round. And then on the other side of the brackets, we have former AEW World Champion Swerve Strickland taking on former Ring of Honor World Champion Bandito, and that will also be at Double or Nothing. And then we have the CMLL Champion Claudio Castagnoli taking on Brody King to round out the first round in the brackets. Once again, this is a star-powered one.
Yes.
Like, I think there's a lot of opportunity in the women's one to find some new favorites.
Yeah.
The men's one, though, this is as star-studded as you're gonna get without putting like Okada in and Omega in. Like they did still give us some spots, giving a shot basically to Mark Davis and a Bandito, if you will, in my opinion. But this is definitely, I think, in a lot of ways, harder to call. I think they did make the right move. Swerve Strickland and Bandito at Double or Nothing is a good call. And of course, Samoa Joe versus Will Ospreay is a no-brainer at Double or Nothing. I went first on the women's side. So Sammy, I'll let you go first here. How do you think the finals are shaping out, and who do you think's walking away with the Owen this year?
I think, how is this not Will Ospreay and Swerve Strickland colliding at some point? Like, you have your two of your top stars in your company, and Swerve is looking for revenge on everyone in AEW, and Ospreay feels like he's kind of lost his mojo, and he's out there with the Death Riders, trying to get his mojo back. Like, I don't know, how is that not a collision course?
Absolutely. Ken, your thoughts?
It's going to be Swerve and Ospreay. I want Swerve to win, but I mean, it's a no-brainer. Ospreay headlining Wembley, it draws money in its sleep. So it's just a matter of how we get there. But I would love them to pull a Swerve, no pun intended, and have Shane Strickland win. just to throw everybody off and kind of say, wait, what? And I mean, obviously you could have a match in between then where you put the rights up for Wembley on Dynamite or do a special, do something for that, draw some more ratings, and then you can go back to Will. But I hate saying it feels telegraphed, but it does. But the tournament matches are going to be phenomenal.
I think you can telegraph and just do Swerve versus Will Ospreay. I really think you can, because I think that's the best match. Not taking anything away from anybody else. Brody King would be an interesting match with Will Ospreay because of the difference in size and styles. Claudio Castagnoli is a tremendous wrestler. That'd be great to see as well. I could even make an argument for Bandito, but I think you just let the two best guys go at it, because the winner is getting a shot at Wembley. That is what's on the line here at the end of the day. And so that's where I'm with it. And before we go any further, of course, the Owen Hart is brought to you by AEW and, of course, the Owen Hart Foundation. If you are not familiar with the Owen Hart Foundation, they support local, national, and international communities through scholarships, housing, and partnership programs. And their mission statement is, we provide opportunities for hardworking people who have limited resources and unlimited potentials. Of course, it is in the name of the late, great Owen Hart. If you would like to donate or find out more, go to owenhartfoundation.org. I think it is important to throw that out there because that is what this is about. It's one of the greatest wrestlers of all time is the name on it, and we have some great wrestling action, but there is a foundation and opportunities for people beyond there. So go check that out if you will. All right. That's going to bring us to the end of the show. We got a huge week next week, by the way, folks. Next week, Saturday night's main event. We'll be talking about that, going in there, see what's going on with that. And of course, AEW's Double or Nothing. Big giant week next week, as it is every week, and we'll be talking about even more professional wrestling. But of course, if you want to check out everything that's going on with Fanlight Zone, make sure you head over to fanlightzone.com. Make sure you, whether you're there, you find out all the social media links so you can follow us on all the social medias that you're on, because trust me, you're going to want to see our posts and our videos and our video reviews and all that happy jazz. And of course, if you're watching us on the YouTube channel right now, before you leave, make sure you smash that subscribe button, click the bell icon for notifications, so when you know whenever we go live or a new video gets put up, because trust me, we got a ton of them up and going more. And of course, hit that thumbs up to help us defeat the algorithm, and hit that like button. And across the board, thank you for supporting us, because we have a lot of supporters, and we're thankful for each and every one of you. As we continue to grow, we will continue to grow and give you more and more coverage, and not just where we are now. So trust me, that is the mission statement that we have. So with that being said, though, we talk pro wrestling on this YouTube channel. It's also put out on our Twitch and X, wherever you're watching this. Thank you so much. Thank you for those of you who watch us on the replay. We like to hear from you as well, so leave your comments, because we always love reading them and interacting with you as well. And like I said, we talk pro wrestling every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on those wonderful platforms. So make sure you join us and join the conversation. Well, until next Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, for myself, for Miss Sammy, for Ken M, thank you for joining us. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Have a wonderful wrestling weekend. And most importantly, later wrestling fans.